You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
This week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. It's very different this week. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Tyler. I'm saying this to your face now, which is not mattering at all to the people at home.
Not even a little bit.
What I love about this is I can see your enthusiasm. Like, I can always hear it. It always comes through the microphone, obviously, for anybody who knows. Like, there have been times where you're just like, I just came out of the gate way too fast. Now being able to see that and how happy you are.
That's every episode.
Show, yeah, it means a little something more to me, and hopefully it's going to come across the rest of this show. You know, maybe we'll talk over each other a little less.
Well,
because we can see each other's mouths moving. But
I feel like we could also do the thing where I still don't know how to do this on Zoom, but I see, people like we'll do our department-wide Zoom calls. There's like a little graphic you can put up that's like a hand raised. I don't know how to do that on here. So a little bit of backstory. For the very first time ever, Sam and I have turned the cameras on to record the show before the show. I just decided to do this. So as some of you are aware, I do some sports broadcasting work outside of my MILB duties. And we started doing our coaches shows for University of Denver basketball and lacrosse, which I do radio broadcasts for. We started doing those over Zoom with the cameras on. So they're radio shows, so I record them and we just put them out on the ESPN radio affiliate here in Denver. But I get to see the coaches and our sports information director and stuff, and it just makes it like a lot more connected feeling. So I decided today, we signed on for this call, and I said to Sam, like, why don't we put the cameras on today? Now, here's the difference. Sam is somebody who is professional. He's got the backdrop photo, which is Citi Field under a gorgeous sunset. He's got a Nashville Sounds hat on today. I am in my converted closet in my office, which I made into like a little recording studio. It looks like I'm being held hostage. Like, it looks like I have been abducted by aliens and they threw me into a room with like soundproofing material, and I'm being held here against my will. Does it not? Like, it's dark. The lighting's terrible. I obviously haven't showered today. I'm wearing a pullover of an Italian baseball team. I'm a mess.
Well, when you said Italian baseball team, I was like, at least you're sticking to your true self. But then when you said I'm a mess, I was like, well, maybe we don't need to go off and say that. But I have a background because, as I've said on the show before, I live in Brooklyn. I have just a small studio apartment to myself. I don't need you seeing what's like, I'm standing or like sitting in front of my bathroom wall right now, or bathroom door right now. So like, you don't need to see, look at Citi Field. Like, look how gorgeous it is to watch a baseball game. There's tons of fans behind me, I guess, in this virtual space. This is actually from a game that I went to see between, I can't remember. I feel like they may have been playing the Rockies, but I went with our own Josh Jackson.
The man himself.
And our boss, Dan Marinas. So I have great memories.
The other man himself.
Yeah. So it's just a happier thing for you to look at, Tyler. I'm really doing this for you.
Oh, wow.
Than to look at my...
Makes me feel tremendously selfish then, because I'm making you look at soundproofing material in a dimly lit room. That's literally, I can't fully extend my elbows to either side of me. That's how small this room is.
I will say this, it does make it seem like you are the professional one, because you have like soundproof material around you. Like, you are doing it in a space that is conducive to recording.
At one time in my life, I was like, you know what I should do is try to get into like some more voiceover stuff. I love doing voiceover work. I find it very fun. But then I realized that I have a voice like Jerry Seinfeld. No one wants to listen to that, like trying to sell them cars or something. Like, hey, folks, how you doing? Even though that was a Jay Leno and not a Jerry Seinfeld. Anyway, I'm all mixed up. It's, the middle of the afternoon and I'm just waking up. Something, I don't know. But it's good to see your face, buddy. I haven't seen you in person in like a year and a half. It's been ridiculous. And I miss you guys. And so it's good to see you.
Yeah, this is much better than what we normally do, which is during company Zooms, we'll like text each other like, "Oh, you look nice today. You're in the corner, but things look
just
good."
dumb jokes.
Yeah.
That's what I do whenever we have a company Zoom and Josh is on with us. I always text him jokes from the British sitcom Peep Show that he got both of us into, that I am now obsessed with, and I'll just text him like Peep Show lines in the middle of meetings. And Josh finally got to the point where he does not have his phone next to him during Zoom calls anymore because he doesn't want to start laughing when I send him jokes. So ruin that. To anybody listening right now, they're like, just get to the baseball talk. So obviously this visual element has not added anything to all of you, but one of these weeks I'll put like a real shirt on, and then we'll cut out like a video clip, and we'll send it along, and we'll use that as our teaser for the podcast or something. And then people will be like, that's what that guy looks like. His beard is as annoying as his voice. Talking about me, not you, because you all.
I was going to say, yeah, as another bearded person who's also immediately when you said that, I'm like, I'm going to have to put a button down on now just to record this show. Like that's not something I was thinking about.
The good news is now I can just rotate in my collection of minor league hats. And now I can just wear one episode by episode, and we can cut a little clip out, send it out there. We're just game planning this.
See, there we go. There we go. Yeah, we're doing this on the show, which is definitely how you should game plan a podcast.
Always.
While
the
you're
production
recording.
meetings come during the recording. It's great. It's very professional. And with that, we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com, the official podcast of minor league baseball. My name is Tyler Mon. Did we introduce ourselves? Sam Dykstra is in New York City. If you're listening, you've probably heard this little ditty before. Hi, Sam. I'm very excited to be talking baseball with you today.
Yes, me too. We're sitting here on January 27th. Our own Kelsey Hennigan slacked me earlier today just to be like a reminder. This time last year, I was writing a story about top prospects who were invited to big league camp and who are ones to watch. And they haven't really come out yet. We haven't. Right. I think the A's had some non-roster invites. That came out. Tyler Soderstrom, their first round pick last year, was the big name there. No top 100 names, but it is a different time in baseball. We're still kind of holding out. You may have heard the story this week about certain municipal leaders in Arizona reaching out to MLB asking to delay spring training. MLB saying spring training still on course to start when it normally did. We talked last week to Justin Foscue of the Texas Rangers. He was already in Arizona, so. Things
also
are kind of
confused by that push, and not to, take a stance one way or another because public health concerns are obviously very real. But for example, the Chicago White Sox and Los Angeles Dodgers play in Glendale at Camelback Ranch. Also in Glendale are the Arizona Coyotes, who are currently playing games in front of fans, I believe.
Indoors.
So I'm a little confused about that whole thing, but obviously it's a very complex and fluid situation. But yeah, it's just, there are so many moving targets, moving goalposts, and all those things getting set for spring training. Ordinarily right now, we'd be 2.5 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting and top prospects getting there and all of that. We did discuss a few weeks ago the potential that spring training for AA and Class A would be delayed. So we're still waiting on a whole bunch of stuff to get fully fleshed out for 2021.
Yeah, I think fluid is the exact word that came into mind for me. So much is fluid about what we're going through right now. Again, can't stress enough, the plan is right now to start spring training on time. We're going to continue on with that. As clubs announce non-roster invites, we'll start writing those up. Like I said, we only have the A's right now. Hopefully more teams are going to be coming in the coming days and weeks, but it definitely still has a different feeling to late January. We saw the hot stove really heat up this week with guys signing. George Springer was made official just the other day. JT Realmuto going back to the Phillies, Andrelton Simmons to the Twins. A lot of parts that are still moving, not just on the schedule front, but on the transaction front.
Well, let's dive in and start talking some baseball. And we are going to start with the news of yesterday, the big news for the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is Larry Walker is still a Hall of Famer. The biggest news of the Hall of Fame selection in the last 2 years. I can't think of any bigger headline than my childhood hero going into the Hall of Fame.
I don't know if Tyler said this yet. So if you're new to the podcast, that is Tyler reporting from Denver, Colorado. on Larry Walker's now year-old. It's been a year since we had that SpongeBob shirt. That's how well
it has been since that entered the National Baseball Lexicon. Larry Walker in a SpongeBob shirt.
Obviously, the big news is that Baseball Hall of Fame results came in from the BBWAA. No players got to the 75% mark. So the last year's ceremony was delayed, obviously, because of COVID. So Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, and Ted Simmons will all be going in this summer. There'll still be something. Hopefully, they'll be able to put something together. Hopefully, everybody will be safe and able to gather in Cooperstown for that. But there won't be any 2021 inductees. Curt Schilling missed the boat by, I think, 16 votes. There are some other promising moves in there. I know Scott Rowland made a jump. Billy Wagner made a jump. Todd Helton made a jump. Yeah, Todd Helton, I think, was at 44% to continue our Rockies theme here. Roger Clemens.
We have
and
so
Barry
very
Bonds.
little. We have to have a theme for something baseball related in this city. We have so very little.
Yes, sure. Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens are right there, but I think they're going into their 10th year next year, which is going to be
same with Curt Schilling.
Same with Curt Schilling for sure. If you haven't heard, Curt Schilling has asked the Hall of Fame to be taken off the ballot because he's upset at receiving, I think, around 71% of the vote, which is very close to being inducted. Like, he has 1 year left. He could just try to campaign for those votes. And obviously a big hang up with him is the character clause, which is in there. It is something that voters are asked to consider. And when you ask, a bunch of journalists to consider getting votes, and it's somebody who in the past has talked about hanging journalists, like, I'm sorry, you're going to lose votes. Yep. So instead of trying to reform himself or try to share his point of view or, fix the things in some way for his past behavior. And there's a lot more than just the hang the journalist thing. Recently he's talked about, supporting the insurrection on the Capitol, and we don't have to get all into that right now, but Curt Schilling has asked to be taken off the ballot. We'll see if that's going to come. But next year also,
the BBWAA actually did issue a statement today, I believe, in which they said that they will not be doing that.
The BBWAA asked that, but the Hall of Fame is the one I think.
Right, the Hall of Fame will make the determination. Right. The voters have said we're not gonna take him off the ballot.
Right. So we'll see what's going to come of that. If he doesn't get on it, or does get on and he loses votes, he'll be up for the Veterans Committee, and we'll have this discussion all over again in a couple of years. But David Ortiz is on the ballot next year. Alex Rodriguez is on the ballot next year. It's going to be crazy, the discourse we're going to have a year from now.
Yeah.
But I will say, if there is a year to have an ofer, it is this year, because Derek Jeter, Larry Walker, and Ted Simmons, they will have their day in Cooperstown,
which I think is great, and not just because I'm biased, obviously, with somebody that I loved as a kid going into the Hall of Fame, Larry Walker, but I would have felt heartbroken for anybody. I mean, Derek Jeter, especially, somebody who goes in, the legend that he is. It would have been, and obviously he would have overshadowed, even if Curt Schilling had been elected this year, Derek Jeter is still the story for the Hall of Fame. And it would have been kind of a bummer if it was, okay, well, now you have to go in as part of two classes. Even more so for Larry Walker, because I think he's gotten, 0.8% of the conversation about the class of 2021, or the class of 2020, I should say. And if he would have been, knocked even further down the ladder by some more inductees. Yeah, I think you put it very well. If there was ever a year for an ofer, this is a good time, because now you get to give those guys their day. One other completely unrelated thing, you said that the picture that you took, you believe was from a game against the Rockies. I can see over your right shoulder in the banner on the ribbon board, there is a Rockies logo. So very good memory, Sam.
Wow.
I also wanted you to turn and look as though you could see it.
With the way this is mirrored, I don't even know which way I'm actually looking. So yeah,
it was the other way. The other way.
Your other left.
But anyway, let's get into it. There were some deals made this week, and we will start with an apology to Pittsburgh Pirates fans, at least on the major league side, but we're going to talk more about the prospect side. Jameson Taillon has been dealt, and if you are a Pirates fan, now you got to watch the guys who were your big two, who I actually got to broadcast those two guys together when they were in Altoona in 2012 coming up. But Garrett Cole and Jameson Taillon will now be towing the rubber as members of the rotation of the New York Yankees. The Yankees do send back a prospect package of 4 pretty talented guys to the Pirates organization. Sam, your thoughts on this group? There weren't any top 100 guys included, not even any top 10 Yankees prospects included, but an interesting group that the Pirates get in the return for Jameson Taillon.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of continues a lot of what's happened this postseason or offseason, which is I feel like there have been some big trades to happen, but there really haven't been that many top 100 names moved. The only one that really jumps to mind immediately is Luis Patino going from the Padres to the Rays. But it seems like teams have been able to pull off trades for depth. You know, I don't know what other offers were out there for Jameson Taillon, but let's say you could have had an offer for 2 top 10 Yankees prospects or 4 prospects, and you add depth to your system. Don't know if that was out there again, but the fact that the Pirates, that's what they ended up taking, is just adding depth to the system is notable to me. And I want to apologize because I think I said last week, like, I don't know what assets the Pirates still had really left. Taillon apparently was one of them. You mentioned the Garrett Cole connection. I saw a lot of people bandying about that. Garrett Cole knows Jameson Taillon's recovery better than probably anybody. They were very close when they were coming up through the Pirates system. There's probably no doubt that he shared information with the Yankees of like, hey, listen, things are going well. If you guys want to go after him, go do that. So the Yankees, they don't have necessarily the big names outside of Jason Dominguez in their system. And I know people are very high on Davy Garcia, but they do have a deep system. And they dipped into that here, trading 4 prospects, as Tyler mentioned, Roansy Contreras, Michael Escoto, Canaan Smith, and Miguel Yajure. Yajure is the big name of this group for now. He's the number 14 prospect in the Pirates system. At this point, he made a couple appearances for the Yankees last season, all out of the bullpen, 3 games, 7 innings pitched, struck out 8, walked 5. So the control wasn't quite there. He doesn't have necessarily a plus pitch in his bag, but the cutter could be an above average offering. The changeup can be above average. He's got a fastball and a curveball too, and he usually throws the ball in the zone pretty well. So you're looking at maybe a 4 or a 5 starter there for the Pirates at a time when, you know, we talked to Will Crow about this. There are going to be opportunities to win spots in that Pirates rotation. I'm personally a fan of Roansy Contreras. I think what he's done at the lower levels of the Yankee system has been pretty special. He last threw 132 and a third innings at Class A Charleston in 2019, the last time we had minor league baseball. He struck out 113, walked only 36. Again, somebody who doesn't have necessarily a plus pitch, but the fastball and changeup are his bread and butter when it comes to him. Both Yajure and Contreras are on the 40-man, so a big reason for making this move for the Yankees and involving these 2 guys in particular was to clear out a 40-man spot. Obviously, Taillon takes one of them, but they were signing DJ LeMahieu. They needed a clear a spot for that. They had Corey Kluber coming in as a free agent. They needed to clear a spot for that. Also, there's rumors about them going after an outfielder, potentially bringing back Brett Gardner. I think today it was announced that they signed Darren O'Day to their outfield or to their bullpen. So the Yankees needed to clear some spots. This helps achieve that in some way. Pirates get a little bit deeper here. Again, it's not going, this isn't the type of trade that's going to launch them into being a top 5 system. But if somebody like Yajure can eat some innings this year, take a jump to the next level, maybe a number 3 starter down the line, that's pretty good for Jameson Taillon in a deal like that. If Roansy Contreras can take a similar jump and start showing some of the durability that he did at Charleston and some of the other things as well, that could be big. And just keep an eye on Michael Escoto for now. He's not the headliner in this trade by any means, but he was somebody who performed really, really well in the Dominican Summer League. Now, he hasn't been challenged yet stateside, so that's going to be a big deal for him. But every once in a while, some of these guys that perform really well in the DSL, and you think like, okay, but that's the DSL, that doesn't mean anything. They bring those results with them higher up the ladder. So that might be a lottery ticket that the Pirates end up working out. But that's why they took these 4 guys, is that when you deepen the amount of players you are getting, there's a slightly higher likelihood that one of them becomes even better and becomes a star in ways we hadn't seen yet. So we'll see how things shake out. But for now, the Pirates definitely get a little worse at the major league side. Don't get me wrong. Trading a major league starter and somebody who was maybe a number 1 or even number 2 for the Pirates in the past. Yes, he has injury issues, but still carried that torch before. the major league team is worse. The Pirates farm system is a little bit deeper, and that's what they need to be doing here for the Pirates in the coming months and years, really, as they try to plan this rebuild.
There are two teams in baseball who don't get together for trades very often. And despite the fact that they were part of one of the most famous transactions in baseball history, the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees made a deal this week in which the Red Sox received Major League relief pitcher Adam Ottavino from his hometown, New York Yankees. The Yankees also dealt a prospect to the Red Sox in Frank German. And full disclosure, Sam and I spent quite some time trying to figure out if that is the correct pronunciation of Frank's last name. He's from Tampa, Florida, and went to the University of North Florida. It's spelled German. It could very well be Herman, but we couldn't find anything on YouTube. The North Florida baseball game notes from 2018 that I found did not have Frank's last name in their pronunciation guide. So we'll just call him Frank from here on out because I don't want to screw up the last name. But a good relief pitcher the Yankees took in the 4th round back in 2018, and a guy who was with the Class A advanced Tampa Tarpons, among others, in 2019. This deal for the Red Sox, Sam, obviously the headliner is Adam Ottavino, and we did get confirmation from the man himself, James Smythe, who is a statistician with the Yes Network. It is German. It is not German or Herman like Domingo or like Herman Marquez, the Rocky starter. Frank German. So good to know. Red Sox fans, put it down. You have confirmation. Frank German being maybe the under the radar guy in this deal, he's got a lot of upside.
Yes. Well, he has some upside in that he throws mid 90s. He's got the makings of an above average changeup. If things kind of come together, the breaking ball's behind those 2 other pitches. So we'll see how things are going to go, but you take that velocity where you can find it. And especially if you're the Red Sox right now, pitching is definitely where they have some holes in the system. Not only in the system, but at the major league level. He's a little far away for us to be talking about him being a 2021 option in that respect. But, the Yankees known pretty well for getting velo out of guys. He added a little bit. He has had shoulder problems in the past. He was limited by shoulder issues in 2019. What happens when he's healthy, we'll have to wait and see about that. But if you're the Red Sox, getting Adam Ottavino for a year, he signed for $9 million. They also got, I think, $850,000 in cash from the Yankees to help pay down that contract. Ottavino is going to help that bullpen. And by taking on the contract and clearing the Yankees a 40-man spot, they were also given the pleasure of adding a pitching prospect in Frank German, excuse me. We just went through all of that. Frank German.
We're learning in real time.
Yes, we are.
And on camera.
But yeah, again, it's just kind of another lottery ticket, but it fills a little bit of a hole for the Red Sox. Going to be interested to see what they can do with him now. They don't have quite the development success with pitchers that the Yankees do. So what type of different pitcher will German be now that he's in that system? We'll kind of wait and see. But again, improving the bullpen, improving the farm system at the same time, and only doing it because you were able to take on some money. It's a good place to be. And it's just funny that this is the first trade between the Red Sox and Yankees involving a minor leaguer, never mind involving any trade. It's the first trade between the two sides involving a minor leaguer since 1997. They don't do that this often. So we'll see how things are going to work out there in Boston. But again, you take the lottery ticket, you take Adam Ottavino and add him to your bullpen, and you call it a day.
And with the hot stove heating up, we will be sure to keep you updated, of course, on all the moves as they continue the flurry that usually accompanies the final few weeks before spring training. And in addition to transaction moves in the final few weeks before spring training, it's also the final few weeks, really the final week now almost, of Winter League ball in most destinations, and including the Dominican Republic, which finished up its season last week ahead of the Caribbean Series coming up starting on Sunday, which will feature the champs from the Dominican Republic, Colombia, Mexico, Puerto Rico, Panama, and Venezuela. Whew, I got them all. I was very concerned I was going to forget somebody.
No, that was good. And Tyler, you wrote up a piece kind of wrapping up Lidom, as we call it, and some of the prospects that were there and who stood out and who didn't. Wander Franco being the big name, but he didn't get to spend enough time there. So who else stood to you as you were putting together that piece?
Yeah, one of the things that was interesting, we heard so much about Wander Franco was going to be down there, and Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners organization was going to be down there. O'Neal Cruz of the Pittsburgh Pirates system would be there playing for his hometown team, or at least close to his hometown team. Those guys did not really have gigantic performances. Obviously, Wander Franco only got a chance to play in 5 games before the shoulder stiffness forced his removal from the Dominican League. Julio Rodriguez played in 18 games. O'Neal Cruz played in 14 games. But there were some other names that are much more under the radar who I thought really kind of stood out. Sticking along the Yankees conversation, Estevan Florial played in 18 games for Escogido and turned in a really strong performance. The Yankees number 18 prospect, I believe, the outfielder, check that, number 7 prospect. I was looking at the wrong line in my story. He played in 18 games, 280, 373, 420 was his final slash line for Escogido. The Yankees pitcher, Albert Abreu, also really impressive, very limited action, but number 12 prospect in the New York organization, made just a handful of starts, 5 starts. He only pitched 19 and a third innings, but struck out 23 and 19 and third, limited opponents to a 152 average against him, and he put up a 2.79 ERA. One guy who really stood out, there's actually 2 players that I want to talk about, one ranked and one not. Kelvin Gutierrez, who is a pretty low-ranked prospect in the Kansas City Royals organization, 24th ranked in that system. He played for the Gigantes del Cibao and batted 396, 492, 604. And he only played in 17 games. I believe a health issue kept him on the injured list for the majority of the rest of the season. But really impressive numbers from him. And then this is a guy who I thought was maybe the most fascinating one who I heard about from the Dominican League. Joe Dunand, who is a prospect in the Miami Marlins organization. I had an American League scout text me that he nearly won MVP. He is not a prospect that you might be aware of, even if you are a Marlins fan. He was a second-round pick back in 2017. He had been a ranked prospect up until the start of the 2019 season, but he went down to the DR this offseason. It was his second season, I believe, in lead-on play, and he batted 319, 398, 542 with 3 homers and 12 RBIs. He played in 21 games. Really, really impressive stuff from him. And now Aguilas gets to move on after winning the league championship, their 22nd championship in Dominican League play. They will move on and play in the Caribbean Series, which will feature, as I mentioned, the 6 championship teams from the Latin American Winter League circuits, and they will match up starting on Sunday, the 31st through the 6th of February in Mazatlan, Mexico. So yeah, this is the first in a series. We're going to go through the winter leagues in Mexico and in Puerto Rico and in Venezuela and Australia, in addition to the Dominican Republic. So be on the lookout for those. We'll have more of them coming to the site over the next few weeks.
And one thing I want to point out about Joe Dunand too, nephew of A-Rod.
Right.
Knows a little bit about hitting and playing third base and all that kind of stuff. So
a Miami native. He went to NC State and was chosen in the second round in 2017. And yeah, really impressive athletic talent, and a guy who, if you're the Marlins organization, you already feel good about where you are in terms of your depth in the system, but maybe somebody else who gets pushed into the mix here over the next couple of seasons. So with that, our final topic of our opening segment this week, as we are going to dive into a new announcement for Major League Baseball, which deemed this on Monday. Quote, Major League Baseball and USA Baseball on Monday announced enhancements to the joint prospect development pipeline to feature a lineup of evaluation and showcase events for 2021 and 2022 MLB drafts, including the first ever MLB draft combine for high school and college baseball players. Additionally, the PDP League, a development and assessment opportunity for high school players eligible for the following year's draft, will return following the cancellation of the 2020 event due to the COVID-19 pandemic. These programs, which will be hosted at the USA Baseball National Training Complex in Cary, North Carolina, will strictly adhere to health protocols and other safety measures that are consistent with all state and local regulations to protect all participants and on-site personnel and maintain the integrity of the individual player assessments. This is something that major league teams, I think, have really wanted to have an opportunity to create for a while. The combine will go from June 20th to the 28th. High school and college players will be there, especially this year, with the potential complications in scheduling all across the country at all of the amateur levels. This is a step that kind of centralizes the scouting process ahead of the draft for major league teams, and provides a little bit more of a streamlined scouting situation in a world that has been tipped so upside down from what we're normally used to at this time of year, getting set for those final few months of draft evaluation.
Yeah, and I think it is a little confusing, that release that they put out. From my understanding, it's that the combine in North Carolina is going to be 88 just high school players. And that's going to be chosen by all the organizations. They're going to come together and decide who those 88 are. But it's also going to involve the draft league, which is new for this year, which we talked about here on the show. And the draft league is basically anybody who's eligible for the draft can participate in that league. It's kind of like a summer collegiate bat league, but it's also going to be open to prep players if they are draft eligible, also junior college players as well. But they're going to have like combine activities as part of the draft league too. So it's not going to just be, you see the NFL and they have their combine usually in Indianapolis. It's guys coming in and doing the cone drill and doing the 40 and doing throwing accuracy and all that kind of stuff. It's not going to just be that. There's going to be kind of like satellite combines as well, which is great. I think, especially as you mentioned, Tyler, like having one central event after the last 2 years have been wiped out due to COVID. A lot of high school play has done that. It's one thing for guys last year when at least there was junior data and junior scouting to fall back on. With some of the bigger prep names. Now for the guys going into the 2021 draft, who knows if they're going to have a spring season. It's going to depend on their local, rules and regulations. But for most of them, they lost their junior years as well. So they're going to need somewhere to measure themselves up against top talent from across the country. This is a chance to do that. It's not just the drills. There are going to be games involved. There's kind of a mini tournament. There's going to be a gold medal game and a bronze medal game. How much that's going to matter, who knows? It'll matter to the guys playing, but that's about it. But it's still, you're going to be able to see how can somebody from North Carolina handle the velocity of somebody from Arizona, for example. That's great for these guys. Hopefully it's going to be used more positively than negatively and help guys stock more than hurt it. But it's just another event on the draft calendar and something we can all look forward to here in North Carolina in June.
And speaking of things to look forward to, our very next segment, which is one of the newest members of the minor league managerial family, Kristopher Negrón, who is the new manager for AAA Tacoma in the Seattle Mariners organization. Chris Negrón joins the show next. Well, the Seattle Mariners organization earlier this week, one of the most talented systems in baseball, announced the player development staff and coaching staffs for the ranks throughout the minor league side of the organization. And we are delighted to be joined by the coming up in 2021 first-year manager of AAA for the Seattle Mariners, which we expect, of course, to be the Tacoma Rainiers, longtime partners at the highest level in the minors for the Mariners. And that is Kristopher Negrón, a guy who spent some time in that system, spent some time in Seattle, and now gets a chance to do it on the managerial side. I guess we can call you Skip now. Do you like all the cheesy managerial nicknames?
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that because as soon as it was announced, I got a bunch of texts and calls saying, yeah, I'm just going to call you Skip or Skipper from here on out. And it's pretty funny because starting last year in spring training, we joked around that since I wasn't a player anymore and I was essentially in that clubhouse with all my teammates and now I'm a coach, that everybody just started calling me Mr. Coach or Coach Negrón everywhere just to make it a point that I'm not a player anymore. So I've been running with it, so it's all fine with me.
They really like to drive it home for you that the playing days are done, I'm assuming, the guys in the clubhouse. That's fun.
Oh, yeah. I used to joke around with them. I said, don't play around. I'll find a way to activate myself. But I'd probably hurt myself trying to do that now.
Well, let's talk about this move. So as noted, last year, you're done playing for the first time, and, the strangest year that any of us can remember in a baseball standpoint. You were not going to be part of a coaching staff for last year, but you got to be on the player development side working under Andy McKay, who we've had on the show before. And we've talked to a bunch throughout the years, whether he was with Colorado or now with Seattle and the various positions that he's had. Tell us about what it was like last year transitioning into the player development side, and especially doing so in such a strange year. Tell us about your role last year.
Yeah, it was a very learning experience, huge learning experience. And again, I was with Andy McKay, the majority of my time, and talking to him on the phone and emails and just being around him. And he's such a smart person. So being able to be kind of an understudy to him for the year, it was just learning nonstop. But no, it was a very unique experience because it was mostly front office during the lockdown. So when I showed up to spring training, I was doing a lot of on-field, kind of a hybrid, both front office and on-field, kind of in big league camp. And then when we got shut down, things quickly turned into more front office since there wasn't really any baseball on-field going on. So kind of getting that kind of perspective of everything was very eye-opening, and I learned a lot. And it was a very unique experience. And then as the year went on, we went to summer camp. I started transitioning to a little bit more on-field because that's just the way that things were kind of going right now because the minor league baseball season didn't happen. So kind of dealt with a little bit of that. And then when the alternate site got up and running, I was lucky enough to head over there with Andy, and he kind of schooled me up on a little bit more on-field, more of the coaching side of it. And I started falling in love.
Yeah, and especially from that unique 2020 perspective, what surprised you most about the player development side, working in the front office that maybe you didn't know in your many years on the minor league side?
It's very interesting because since I was able to be on the front office side, definitely it's a different perspective than being a player. So I kind of didn't know what exactly I was getting myself into when I'm sitting in on meetings and all that stuff. I was just trying to soak it all in and learn as much as I could. But just the whole group we have here, front office wise, player development, like everything, just to see how much they care and how much effort that they put into, put these players in the best situations and give them the best coaching and the best information to get them to the big leagues and be successful. So just seeing how much they cared about their people and just the process of how they go about things and not worrying about like the results of everything, but just making sure everybody has the correct process and the right mindset. So that was very interesting.
And at what point did they come to you, or did you go to them saying, a manager's job was in the cards for you? Because as we said, your last game in any capacity was September 29th, 2019, not very long ago. You're turning 35 on February 1st. So happy early birthday on that. But at what point, did you come to them and say, hey, I want to be a manager someday? Did you expect it this quick, or did they come to you and say, hey, we like what you've done, we want to give you a job in the dugout?
Yeah, it was just a conversation Andy and I had a while back, and he was just kind of gauging my interest. And again, from all the work that we did at the alternate site, just kind of being boots on the ground and helping those guys out there, develop and, telling people they're going to the big leagues. It was all the first for me, and I just really gravitated to it. And I think Andy realized that and saw it, and something came, and this position came up, and it thought it would fit well for both of us.
So many guys, Christopher, growing up, kind of have, I think, an idea that, oh yeah, I could be a manager, I could be a coach someday. It's something that I'm interested in. And for other guys, it's something that I think comes along as the career develops. Were you, when you were a younger guy, whether in high school or JUCO or getting, into the professional ranks, did you feel early on like coaching was something that you would be interested in, or is that something that more developed along your playing career?
I think it developed a lot more as I kept playing throughout the years, because in those younger days, there was no doubt in my mind I was going to spend 10 years in the big leagues and, be set for the rest of my life and not have to worry about anything. But the longer you play, the more you realize that the odds of that happening are not very high. So the older I got, I was lucky enough to play a long time. I was lucky enough to play in the big leagues. But as I got older, I really had I started getting a lot of fulfillment, a lot of joy of helping out a lot of the young players, whether it was in AAA or even when I was in the big leagues, talking with the young guys. So that really, it gave me like a different type of fulfillment, and I enjoyed it a lot. So I think as I got older, kind of being that mentor and kind of coaching people along is something I really connected to.
You got to play at a bunch of different levels and in a bunch of different systems, and you make it to the big leagues with a handful of teams, and all of that exposure, playing in so many different organizations and all that, I would imagine probably lays a really good foundation for when you get into the coaching and managerial side. Do you feel like from, whether it was your time with the Red Sox or the Reds, the D-backs or the Dodgers or the Mariners, did you could you pick things out from each system that you liked, that you want to incorporate into your coaching style? Obviously, you guys have a philosophy with Seattle, but I would imagine you learned a lot at every different stop that kind of molds you into this next stage as a manager.
Yeah, it's just just when you're playing, you're picking things up from other players and all that stuff. And as I got older, you start seeing the way your managers and your coaches start doing things, and you kind of pick up on that. And I was lucky enough to play for some great managers. Played with David Bell, manager with Cincinnati, was actually my AA and AAA manager with the Reds, and Rick Sweet. And I've been exposed to a lot of great managers, and a couple of them already contacted me once this was announced. So I'm looking forward to picking their brains more and kind of learning from everything that goes on.
And kind of along those lines then, with all those managers you've worked with and what you've been able to see from that side, how would you describe what you think your managerial style will be?
Well, I know it's just going to be focused on the process. I think that's something that is controllable. That's something that we preach here in Seattle, is that you can't be result-oriented. You can't just go hunting the results and worry about all the results, because that's just going to eat you up, because you can't control those factors. So as long as we're focusing on our process, that's the way the results are going to come, whether it's your mental preparation, your practice plans, worrying about the 15 seconds between pitches, taking a deep breath, getting to the bottom of your funnel. It's just all things that you can control. And the more you prepare for those situations, the results will come in time.
And sticking strictly to the AAA level, you're somebody who made their AAA debut in 2010. You played there every year all the way up until, like I said, your final year in 2019. That's basically a decade of AAA games, and managing at that level is its own monster in itself. What are you going to take from your AAA experiences and bring that to your version of the dugout?
Yeah, like you said, I've been in this situation, whether it's AAA and being up and down for a long time. So I think I can relate to almost everything, if not everything, that these players are going to be going through, whether it's on field, off the field. I've had 2 major surgeries, thinking that I wasn't going to be able to make it back. I was blessed and lucky enough to make it back. So I've been through all different types of experiences. So just be able to help these guys get through the toughest of times, because we all know it's a grind. Being called up, sent down, not playing every day, like it takes a toll on you. So I feel like if they have somebody that they can relate to and talk to and learn from, it's just going to put them in a better situation.
And your major league debut came June 7th, 2012 with the Reds. You mentioned before getting to work at the alternate site. Last year, you got to talk to some of those guys about getting that call up. But what do you remember of your first promotion to the bigs? And now that you're the manager, and that is going to be a very big piece of your job, is starting the dreams of some of these players, how do you think you're going to handle that moment?
I can't wait. I got a little taste of it at the alternate site, but being able to call somebody in and tell them that, hey, you're going to be able to live out your dreams of putting on a big league uni and going to the ballpark, it's a special message. It's one thing that I wish every single person could feel that inside them when they're told that, because it's unbelievable. It's kind of surreal. It's kind of hard to explain that feeling, but to be able to tell somebody they're going to be able to live out their dreams is extremely special. So I embrace it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
You get a couple guys on your staff, and Roy Howell and Rob Marcello, your hitting coach and pitching coach, who are back. They would have been on that staff last year had we had a season. You also get to add another fellow young guy, in Eric Young Jr., on your staff, which I think is so awesome. And, we've been fortunate, I know Sam and I both, to talk with EY for a couple of stories. And he's just, like his father, one of the game's absolute gentlemen. To have somebody else who's kind of, forged a similar track in his career, played in a bunch of different organizations and, gotten experience at the major league level and all that, and is a young guy like yourself. how excited are you to have all of these different varying points of view and points of input for you as a manager that are going to be on that staff with you?
Oh, I'm going to be leaning on everybody. Roy Howe is an unbelievable person. He was actually my hitting coach when I was playing in Tacoma. He's a great coach, played in the big leagues for a long time. He's got tons of experience underneath his belt, knowledge in the game. And Rob Marcello, he's on the up and up. He's a great pitching coach. I'm excited to work with him. I was with him at the alternate site, and he actually taught me a lot from the pitching side because, again, I'm a hitter, so he's really filling that void for me. And like you said, EY is an absolute stud. I love EY. Played against him a little bit in the big leagues, in the minor leagues, and then we actually played together in 2019 there in Tacoma. So being able to both have similar experiences to share with the players from a little bit different perspective. Not everybody's route's the same, but there's so many holes that each one of our staff members can fill and help these players out and impact them.
And, speaking of that staff, you guys are probably moving to Tacoma, like Tyler said. It's been an invite, but that's all but buttoned up basically at this point. So what memories do you have of playing in Tacoma and playing at Cheney Stadium in particular?
You ask anybody that's been around in the PCL that Tacoma is one of the more fun places to play. Whether the first time I went there, I think it was in 2017 when I was with the Reno Aces, or did I go with the Cubs? I can't remember. It's either 16 or 17, but I'm getting old. 35 on Monday.
But, I know the feeling.
But no, the fans there have always been electric. They always draw well, which who knows? I don't know what's going to go on these times now, but the surface is always unbelievable. It's great. The people there, it's always a joy, whether you're the home team, away team, clubhouse staff, everything about that is unbelievable. Downtown's great. I can go on and on. Like, I absolutely love Tacoma. Even when I wasn't even playing for Tacoma or now managing in Tacoma, like as a visiting player, is always one of the places I look forward to going to.
And speaking of Tacoma, and it's tough to project right now. The Mariners non-roster invites just came out today, and we don't want to get too much into the speculation business about who's going to be with you on opening day. But the way things shake out, this is definitely an exciting Mariner system already. But a lot of these guys could be at AAA between Jared Kelenic, Julio Rodriguez, Logan Gilbert, Cal Raleigh. Even if they don't start out with the club, they could be with the club at some point. Given your work with some of these guys at the alt site, how are you planning to work with them and really finish off their minor league careers before you send them off to Seattle?
Like you said, the group we have in the upper levels is truly special. The Kellenics, the Gilberts, the Cals. It's very exciting to be a part of. And just to kind of, if I can impact them to just give them that little extra hump, that little extra confidence going into their debuts, whenever that may be, I'm going to do it. Whether it's, helping them on the field, helping their mental game, being a leader, teammate, like whatever it is, like these guys are truly special. And any way I can just give them that little bit of nudge in development to get them up there and have them stay there. That's the main goal.
And kind of piggybacking off of that, I just want to read you this quote that Andy McKay gave yesterday, or this week anyways, at the Mariners virtual baseball bash, he was talking about you and you were taking over of Tacoma. And the quote goes as follows: "He knows that for him to be a successful coach and realize the dreams that he has as a coach, it's really going to come down to his ability to have hard conversations with players, to tell them the truth." Part of that was because you are going to be managing guys you've played with. But also, again, just to go back to telling them the truth, what does that mean for you? How is that going to work with some of these really top talents who, are being told by everywhere outside that they're some of the top talents in baseball? What is the truth going to look like from you?
That is going to be something that I'm really going to push forward on doing it, and it's for personal reasons. Everybody likes to be liked. So it's tough to give the truth sometimes when you want everybody smiling and on the same page. But at the same time, that helps with development. You have to be able to talk the truth to somebody. You got to be able to sit them down and be like, hey, this is the things we need to work on. Whether it's Kellenic or anybody else, it doesn't matter. And as a player, that's something that's all you ever wanted. You want to be told the truth. You want to know what you need to do to get to where you want to be. And it's always good to if there's any issues along the way, before you have to patch the boat up too much, you know what I mean? The good truth along the way is going to save issues down the road. So it's something that we strive in is telling the players the truth and just kind of, sorry, I'm walking outside right now. I'm getting a little tired. Again, old age. But it's just something that we strive through an organization to give these guys every truth, every information to get them where they want to be.
All right, Christopher, last question for you. First, before we get into it, it makes me feel exceptionally old to hear you say that you are old, because I was telling Sam this yesterday. I was a broadcaster in the Carolina League from 2009 to 2011, and in 2009, you were on the Salem team. I was the radio guy with Myrtle Beach, and I'm pretty sure you guys went like 40-0 against the Pelicans that year, and anytime we saw Salem on the schedule, I was like, well, this is not going to be fun. So now to know that you are have graduated into your managerial career, and I got to call your games in like your third year in Pro Bowl, and I realized that I'm still like 9 months older than you. I feel ancient, so I want you to know that.
Well, I do
this
apologize.
is Tyler just going through his own stuff. You don't have to answer any of that, Christopher.
This is just me juggling with my own
fault.
mortality.
You're 9 months old. I got to respect my elders. I do apologize. You're a good man.
Oh man!
I did like Myrtle Beach, though. I did like Myrtle Beach.
It's a great spot. It's a great spot in a good league. There are a lot of good destinations in that league. I have to wrap up on this question, and we got it from our friends at Lookout Landing, one of the Mariners blog sites. They asked me to ask you about your quote stylish transport to the ballpark this past season. I have no idea what that's in reference to.
Oh, so we were in Seattle, and I think it's what they're referring to because Andy McKay got a kick out of it too. I had an electric longboard.
What?
So instead of having,
sounds awesome.
I'm retired now, so I was able to get a longboard, and now if I can go down, it's fine. I can still coach. I don't have to worry about playing. That was my theory. And I told myself, I was like, man, I've been running around for years and all this stuff. Legs are getting tired. I've had knee surgery once. I need better transportation to the yard. So I go on Amazon, find a little electric longboard that had decent reviews, bought it, sent it to the hotel there in Seattle, and the next thing you know, I'm just have my coffee in one hand, music on, and I'm just cruising up and down the streets on the way to the field.
Does it get more Seattle than that? I have my coffee in my one hand, and I'm just cruising on the way to
on my longboard on the way to T-Mobile Park. That is amazing.
It's a lot of fun. I did go down one time though. Nobody saw it. I looked up for cameras. But I was trying to get through one of the gates, and it's a shorter longboard, so I put my weight on my back foot, and next thing you know, everything goes yard sale. Coffee goes everywhere. Headphones came out. I land flat on my back, and I look around, and there's nobody around because we're the first ones in there, the staff in the morning. I'm looking around, and nobody sees me, and I don't see any cameras, so I kind of play it off. Had a little coffee stain on my shoes, so I was able to brush it off and be all right. Nobody knows that either. I have not told anybody that, so that's kind of funny.
Story's out. Secret's out, everyone. I did find the picture. Andy McKay put a picture on Twitter, and it is magnificent. Yeah. That's fantastic. I would fall every single time I attempted to get on something like that. So that's
when it hit me that's when it hit me that my athleticism went down as soon as I retired.
Well, one of my favorite things about you is your Twitter header photo is, it's a very aptly termed header photo because it's you diving after a ball with the Dodgers, face first in the grass. Do you remember that play where that moment was?
Oh, yeah. I was in Miami. I was playing right field, and I tell you what, I got a good beat on that ball in the gap, too. There was no doubt in my mind I was going to snag it. It was going to be sweet. I'm running after the ball thinking this is going to be at least top 3 playing on TV. And the ball gets caught up in the lights, and I'm like, oh, crap. So I put my glove up and keep running. It's going to eventually come out. And when it did, it was almost past me. So I made a last-second decision to dive for it. And, didn't really slide at all, just kind of got caught up. And next thing you know, I rolled over, my bill's facing sideways, and I look at Pollock, who's our center fielder. And I was like, hey, is my nose crooked? And he just looks at me and goes, no. I said, all right, cool. And he said, but you're bleeding everywhere. I'm like, oh, all right. So I don't think I can forget it, but I made the joke after that. I'm already funny looking as it is, so it didn't really matter if my face got banged up.
It's never a good sign when you have to ask the question, hey, is my nose crooked?
It didn't feel good. I just remember I hit the ground, my bill was sideways, and the ball wasn't in my glove, and I was like, that's not it.
Oh man, that is amazing. Kristopher Negrón, the new manager of AAA in the Seattle Mariners organization, which with the Tacoma Rainiers, I noticed a couple weeks ago you tweeted Epic Sax Gorilla. You're going to be now essentially ballpark roommates with the Epic Sax Gorilla in Tacoma, and we're super excited for you, man, and congratulations on all the success. And when we get a season rolling here in the next few months, best of luck and enjoy every minute of it. We'll be watching.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. Much love.
Despite it being an audio format, as we explained earlier to you, we are doing a visual element to the podcast this week, which makes it the first time that we've gotten to see Benjamin Hill's glorious hair, which he has not cut since before the pandemic. I cannot tell you how envious and impressed I am by that head of hair, Ben. It's you're covered it up with a little bit with a hat today, but it's incredible.
Well, thank you, and it's likewise. It's good to see you too, Tyler. You're in a darkened closet, it looks like, and
it's exactly what it is.
And Sam is in a beautiful ballpark at Sunset. I assume is that Fenway?
At Citi Field. Yeah. No,
City. Oh, look at that. Now you're back. Yeah, it's Citi Field, of course. That is not Fenway. But, hey, we haven't been to ballparks in so long. I forget what ballparks look like. Yeah, well, it's good to see you guys. And, yes, my hair is beautiful and glorious. I cut it the day before I went to the winter meetings in 2019. I cut it under this, desire to be clean cut in an industry event. And now it's late January 2021 and it still has not been cut. And a lot has happened since then. And here we are talking to each other on Zoom in late January and haven't been to an office in nearly a year. And we all know this. It's crazy.
What a world. What a time. Well, there is much to discuss with Ben this week, as with all weeks. And unfortunately, as of the last several weeks, it feels like we have a conversation like this weekly now about a Hall of Famer who has left us. And last time around, we were talking about Tommy Lasorda, and we talked about Phil Niekro and all these different minor league legends who turned into major league legends and their bodies of work. And for those who have passed, Ben's taking a look back at some of those. And Hank Aaron obviously left us as of last Friday. And there's a great story. Hank Aaron did not spend a lot of time in the minor leagues, actually made his professional debut in the Negro Leagues with the Indianapolis Clowns before being signed to a professional contract. But he integrated the South Atlantic League, which a lot of people probably don't know about his minor league career. And even though he was only in the minors for about 2 years, a really incredible couple of years that was for a guy who became one of the most household names in all of American sports.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I've done quite a few, historical articles lately, and I was planning on taking at least a small break from them. But then, when someone of Henry Aaron's caliber dies, I just felt like I could not ignore writing about him. And I know I speak for a lot of people in baseball, but I found myself really affected by his death and just thinking about the career he had, the life he lived, truly what an impact the impact he had on the sport and American society at large. And, I, for one, hope that, Major League Baseball honors him, not just, the Braves organization or the Brewers organization, but I hope all of Major League Baseball honors him and what he accomplished. And, if you're going to retire another number across Major League Baseball, I can't think of a better one, after Jackie Robinson than Henry Aaron's number 44 and Roberto Clemente's 21. Anyway, these are all discussions for another time. But I started poking around in his minor league career, not very long, but because Hank Aaron is Hank Aaron, there have been a lot written about it, a lot of rabbit holes to go down, which I'm constantly going down. And I found a lot of great information in this article. I hope if people haven't read it, I think you'll maybe be able to get a lot out of it. In the age of 18, he started in 1952. He played for the Indianapolis Clowns, the Negro American League. And in June of that year, he was signed by the Braves organization, who were then the Boston Braves in their last year in Boston before going to Milwaukee. And as soon as he signed with the Boston Braves, they sent him to Eau Claire, Wisconsin, that had a team in the Class C Northern League. So that's where he started his affiliated minor league baseball career faced white players for the first time in 1952, and tore up the league in just the 3 months he was there. Carson Park, where he played in that 1952 season, is still in use today as the home of a summer collegiate Northwoods League team, the Eau Claire Express. So a statue of Henry Aaron is in front of the ballpark that still stands where he made his debut in 1952. And there's a whole book about just that summer in Eau Claire. So that has a lot of information. Obviously, I found a nearly full-length documentary about that. All sorts of tangents to explore. He was actually one of 3 black players on that 1952 team. And then one of them, Julie Bowers, never played in the major leagues at all. And he was 26 at the time. So I could go on and on, but just finding information about people like that, like about Julie Bowers. He also played with West Covington there, and he went on to play, they went on to be teammates with the Milwaukee Braves, pretty soon after that. And so he made a real impact there in 1952. 1953, he went to Jacksonville. And at that time, they were Jacksonville Braves. They were a South Atlantic League franchise. Now, the South Atlantic League in the 50s is not the South Atlantic League of today. The South Atlantic League of the 50s is what eventually became the Southern League of today. So it gets complicated, but basically the history of the South Atlantic League of the 50s became the history of the Southern League AA circuit that is today. So again, I could go off on a lot of tangents regarding that, but 1953 was the first season that South Atlantic League was integrated. And there were 5 black players who played in the South Atlantic League in 1953. 3 of them were on the Jacksonville Braves, Henry Aaron, Felix Mantilla, and Horace Garner. So he was one of 3 players just on that team alone that integrated. And again, I found a lot of great information. The house that those 3 guys lived at in the Durkeeville neighborhood of Jacksonville is still standing. Back then, it was owned by a nightclub owner. This is obviously during the Jim Crow days. So it was a segregated, it was a black-only nightclub. Or maybe not black only, but, mostly patronized by black people who were excluded from going elsewhere. But a man named Miguel Rivera and Henry Aaron lived at Miguel Rivera's house during that 1953 season. So again, you could just keep going with, the people he interacted with, the kind of experiences he had, but he tore it up in the South Atlantic League in 1953. The team won the South Atlantic League championship. He won the MVP award. He led the league in, hits average, not home runs, but he had 22 home runs. And then he was in the major leagues to stay beginning in 1954. And I believe as Sam pointed out in one of his tweets this week, Hank Aaron played between 1954 and 1976 in the majors, and he made the All-Star team between 1955 and 1975 in every single season of his career outside of the first and the last. So that's what we think of when we think of Henry Aaron. But he did have those 2 years in the minor leagues, Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Jacksonville, Florida, and a lot of things to explore. And I really enjoyed, exploring it as much as possible. And I hope people get something out of this story and maybe find some information that wasn't covered elsewhere, just because it's so specific to those years that are kind of overlooked in the larger scheme of his career because he accomplished so much.
And as we know, because we talked about this a little bit on the show before and you've written about it, but I want to bring it back to this now. Hank Aaron has more connections to the minor leagues, more than he just played there. He was the Braves farm director for a little bit in the 80s and 90s. But for those who remember the Mobile Bay Bears, it was named Hank Aaron Stadium. You've been to that stadium, Ben. Not only that, you went to his house that they moved across the street. And you were there. Was it the opening? Like, you were there when so many stars were there to celebrate Hank Aaron and that house and that stadium. What do you remember about that day and that time?
Yeah, I remember a lot from that. And I was going to include that as a postscript to this story, except I wrote so much just covering 1953 and 1954. I felt I couldn't spin into this 2010 minor league baseball related postscript. But Hank Aaron was a native of Mobile, Alabama. And, as I'm sure a lot of listeners know, Mobile was home to the Bay Bears in the Southern League for about 25 years. And that team is now the Rocket City Trash Pandas. They relocated following the 2019 season and would have made their debut in 2020. But the Mobile Bay Bears, their ballpark was called Hank Aaron Stadium in honor of Hank Aaron, of course, Mobile native, greatest player to come from Mobile, but a lot of great players came from Mobile. That city has a really strong Hall of Fame legacy. And in 2010, that was the first season that I was full-time as a writer for MILB.com. The first time that I went on any sort of ballpark road trip, in an official context. And what I did for my first trip was to start the 2010 season in Mobile, Alabama, for the opening of the Hank Aaron Childhood Home and Museum. So what happened there is Hank Aaron grew up in Mobile in a small house that was built by his father, Herbert Aaron. And prior to the 2010 season, the Mobile Bay Bears, in conjunction with the city of Mobile and some other partners, physically relocated that house, put it back together on the grounds of the ballpark, and filled it with memorabilia from Hank Aaron's career, and also with a lot of period-specific furniture from that time, that would have been in that house in the late 30s, early 40s. And it was a really amazing thing. So at the opening of Hank Aaron Childhood Home and Museum, that was the 2010 Mobile Bay Bears home opener. And there was this incredible A-list group of Hall of Famers there: Rickey Henderson, Reggie Jackson, Ozzie Smith, Willie Mays, Bruce Sutter, Bob Feller, Bud Selig was there. It was just unbelievable. And I was the only national writer there. I was on my first ever sort of assignment as a traveling writer, and I was completely overwhelmed. But for that reason, it will also be one of my most memorable experiences of my career, meeting Henry Aaron and all those Hall of Famers, getting to interview quite a few of them, seeing the speeches they made on the porch of Aaron's childhood home, and just being a part of that event was truly one of the most special things I'll ever take away from my career, no matter how long it lasts.
Pretty incredible legacy for Hank Aaron, and one that is maybe deeper than almost anybody else who's ever played the game of baseball, and a great story from Ben that is up on the site right now. Shifting gears, Ben, let's talk about what we've kind of come to start calling, and I think you sort of coined this on our end, but it sort of feels like the endless offseason from 2019 to 2021. You got a great story that you're working on right now about how teams continue to put out, whether it's social media presence or content on the websites and all that type of stuff. You are focused on the Myrtle Beach Pelicans of the Chicago Cubs organization, and kind of what they've had going on to just try to stay in contact with the community and with their fan base.
Yeah, as much as I enjoy these history articles, I am trying to do, some more here and now type articles as well. And I saw on TikTok, well, I'm not on TikTok yet. I should be, but I still, one thing led to another. And I saw that the Pelicans have a great new series on TikTok that's kind of a week in review, just showing what the team does every single week in a minute-long TikTok series that just in a really succinct way says, here's what we did. Everything from, staging ballpark events, private events, to cleaning the ballpark, to organizing their memorabilia, to staff meetings, to birthday celebrations. And I thought, hey, that's really cool. Because right now, especially with the schedule still not out, everyone seems to be in this state of suspended animation. And I thought it was a really cool example of a team trying to show its fans and, their followers on the internet at large, just kind of what their jobs are right now at this strange moment in time. And Hunter Hornstein, who runs the social media for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans, he's someone I've known for a number of years. Real dedicated guy who works really creatively, especially in the realm of social media. So I got in touch with him at first thinking we'd talk about this TikTok series, but we talked for a long time, and it turned into just a longer conversation about just doing social media in this endless off season, from basically during a time period that, especially starting in March, has been really strange with no season at all, and the pandemic and the larger restructuring of the minor league baseball landscape. Been really tough for teams to navigate that, as it's been tough for a lot of people to navigate in their own realm. And so I'm just kind of an overview of the strategies the teams employed, how they stayed creative, how you also just navigate your own mental health and well-being when you're trying to also run social media across, multiple platforms, within a job and that never really turns off because the internet doesn't turn off. And so we touched on a lot, and I'm now just trying to make it all make sense in a relatively short form article. And that's what I'm working on right now. But I think people, who work in minor league baseball and people who follow minor league baseball teams would be interested in just, what goes into it and the general strategies and the rules of engagement, such as it is, the teams employ to stay connected, to maybe even more so than usual. Minor league social media can often be informal, but even more so now, really establishing the human voice behind it, communicating in a way that makes people feel like they're communicating with a person and not a anonymous, brand, how you maintain that voice. And it's a lot that goes into it. And it's always an important part of an operation now, these days, and especially now when there's literally nothing else. There's no game at the ballpark. So the best way right now to stay connected with the team, find out what they're doing in the community and just, for their followers all across the country is through social media. So a lot goes into it, and writing about it right now.
Benjamin Hill, you can find on Twitter at Ben's Biz, all the stuff at MILB.com/Ben's Biz, the future father, which I did not get to in the intro because I was too busy gawking over your hair.
I understand. Sometimes it's just too many things to focus on at once, but we get to it all eventually.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Sam. Enjoy your night at the ballpark.
Final segment of this week's episode of the show before the show. Before we get out of here, we did want to spend some time and remember another member of the baseball family who passed away last week. Ron Johnson spent a whole bunch of time coaching in the minor league and the major league ranks with the Kansas City Royals, the Boston Red Sox, the Baltimore Orioles, and he passed away due to COVID-19 and is a guy who we're only 2 days beyond his passing now. And the outpouring of emotional remembrances for Ron Johnson on social media over the last few days from everybody, from teams that he worked with to players that he worked with. I saw the news first broken by the Norfolk Tides, the AAA affiliate in the Baltimore Orioles organization for so long. Later on, I saw Adam Jones, the longtime Orioles star, post a remembrance of Ron Johnson. Just a guy who you can tell based on people's comments about him was beloved by everybody, it seems like. And somebody who we've had to bid far too many farewells to far too many people, obviously not just in baseball, but in every walk of life over the last year. And Ron Johnson, it really feels like one that hits the people who he knew and he worked with extremely hard.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about big personalities in baseball. Ron Johnson was it in the best way. I mean, you stick around baseball as long as he did. You mentioned Tyler's times in the Royals, Red Sox, and Orioles systems. He started out in 1992 in Baseball City, technically, in the Florida State League. Finished up with Norfolk, ended up being Norfolk's winningest manager of all time. He was their longest tenured manager. You get those jobs because people like being around you, and especially being a AAA manager. We just talked about this with Kristopher Negrón. You have to develop relationships with your players. You have to get them to buy in. You have to get them comfortable before you ship them off to the major leagues. And to see the types of names that were coming out in support of him, this was not just quad A players or players from years and years ago. It was Adam Jones. It was Zach Britton, guys who are established major leaguers who are saying, like, I really enjoyed my time with RJ. I probably couldn't be where I am today without his help and his guidance and just the fun he brought to the ballpark. That matters. And sometimes in a long slog of a season, just being a fun guy to be around, a trustworthy guy to be around over 140 plus game season, that matters for something. And there's a reason why Ron Johnson stayed around these places for a long time. He'll be greatly missed by a lot of people in the Orioles organization. Anybody who worked in the International League and needed a quote for a while, Ron Johnson was your guy for that. Just an all around really good human being based on anybody who was around him for any number of time. And yeah, he'll be missed across minor league baseball for sure.
And that just about brings us to the close of this week's episode of the show. Before we get out of here, though, Sam has this week's Nationwide Prospect Fact of the Week.
Yeah, so I do want to stick with Kristopher Negrón. We talked about him being around AAA for a long time himself, obviously as a player. I mentioned in the interview that his first AAA season came in 2010, so that's a pretty good bookend. He went 2010 to 2019 at the AAA level. Digging into some of his numbers, two things stood out to me. in that decade of the 2010s, he ranked 6th in AAA plate appearances. He got 3,291, and he ranked 7th in hits at the AAA level with 746. Again, this is somebody who has plenty of experience at that level. He's going to know what his players are going through on a daily basis because he experienced it for 10 years, the highs, the lows, the injuries, the call-ups, all that. So this is the level of experience he's bringing to it. It's not just in words, it's in deeds, and it's in the numbers here. And that is your nationwide prospect fun fact of the week.
And that'll do it for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Mon. We will talk to you next week.